There is one reason that dogs maul people, costing us billions in mutilations every year. One reason alone. And that reason is that the owner thinks they'll get away with harming some person or some animal as long as they use a dog to do it. Accordingly, we must make laws that will seriously deter these deranged dog-loving individuals from harming people and animals with their dogs. Liability claims related to dog bites and other dog-related injuries cost homeowners insurers $1.116 billion in 2023, according to the Insurance Information Institute, III, and State Farm. The number of dog bite claims nationwide increased in 2023 to 19,062, from 17,597 in 2022, an 8.3% increase, according to an analysis of homeowners insurance claims data by the III. Dog bites and other dog-related injuries cost homeowners insurers more than $1 billion in 2022, a 28% increase over 2021. Keep in mind that homeowners insurance tends not to cover more dangerous types of dogs like pit bulls. So these numbers don't even come close to showing the whole problem. Plus, this is just homeowners insurance, and does not include health insurance, lost wages, disability, or any other damages. Once you include all those costs, these 17,000 to 19,000 incidents, depending on the year, likely cost us several $billion per year alone. Then you combine that with the fact that, as you'll see soon, there are over 300,000 emergency room visits per year due to dog bites, and hundreds of thousands more dog bites every year that require medical treatment, and the claim that dog bites likely cost us tens of billions of dollars per year begins to seem rather conservative to say the least. Per the Kenneth M. Phillips Dog Bite Law website, under the All Dog Bite Statistics section, dog attack victims in the U.S. suffer over $1 billion in monetary losses every year. That $1 billion estimate might be low. An article in the Journal of the American Medical Association reported that, in 1995, State Farm paid $70 million on 11,000 claims and estimated that the total annual insurance cost for dog bites was about $2 billion. Keep in mind that that was in the 90s, 3 decades ago. The total cost now is much higher. Now, dog bites are costing us over $1 billion per year in homeowners insurance alone. That does not include health insurance, lost wages, disability, lost jobs, lost careers, destroyed marriages due to lost income, or anything else. That's only the homeowner's insurance cost, and that homeowner's insurance likely does not include maulings by more dangerous types of dogs like pit bulls, as homeowner's insurance tends not to cover those types of dogs. And that's only for about 17,000 to 19,000 incidents per year. There are hundreds of thousands of dog bites per year that require an emergency room visit. We had a yearly average of 316,200 emergency room visits per year due to dog bites in the late 2000s. And by 1994 we had 800,000 people seeking medical care for dog bites each year. By now, those numbers will be far higher as the severity and number of dog bites are increasing over time. The impact on private insurance, Medicare and Medicaid is huge because there are approximately 750,000 dog bite victims requiring medical care each year. Keep in mind that this was in 1996, which again means the problem now will be far worse due to the increase in number and severity of dog attacks since that time. Of these 750,000, the liability insurers, i.e., homeowners insurance and renters insurance, pay only 16,000 claims in an average year. Insurance Information Institute, Spotlight on Dog Bite Liability, 2017, leaving the cost of 734,000 victims to private insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, and the victims themselves. There was a 36% increase in medically attended bites from 1986 to 1994. In 1986, 585,000 people required medical attention or restricted activity, but by 1994 an estimated 800,000 sought medical care for bites. So, by now the numbers are much higher. In the interest of making dog owners be responsible for their own dogs, instead of forcing everyone else to be responsible for other people's dogs, while shielding the owner from being responsible for their own dogs, I propose the following laws. 1. It should be a felony to leave a dog unrestrained, and it should be charged as animal neglect and pointless endangerment of the public to leave a dog unrestrained. When unrestrained, dogs pose a serious threat to every person and animal around them. Billions of dollars in insurance payouts every year, and over $1 billion in homeowners insurance payouts in 2022 and 2023 alone, prove that dogs are aggressive, monstrous animals. Almost every single video I have seen of a dog mauling someone involved an unrestrained dog running up and mauling someone minding their own business, sometimes looking happy while wagging their tails or just trotting right up and ripping into someone like it was no big deal. Dogs are naturally aggressive animals, and in fact are the only type of animal that has ever aggressed against me, and that includes wild animals like coyotes and mountain lions that I have lived around. Just look at all the dog park dog fight videos on YouTube. They regularly maul pedestrians, cyclists, and delivery people. I have seen video after video of this, and almost every video I have seen of a dog mauling someone involved an unrestrained dog. Only one didn't involve an unrestrained dog, and in that video a husky mauled a woman in the face while she petted it. Furthermore, unrestrained dogs can get hurt by being run over, or while they attack other people or animals that defend themselves from the dog. Therefore, leaving a dog unrestrained is in fact animal neglect and should be charged to the owner or whoever else is responsible for the dog as felony animal neglect. Furthermore, dogs can cause traffic incidents and crashes if they are darting about in the road. So, leaving a dog unrestrained in a roadway, especially a busy roadway, highway, or interstate, all of which are real problems that have occurred, should carry a minimum 2-year prison sentence for the owners. We recognize that the only reason to leave a dog unrestrained or poorly restrained such that it can access a road or sidewalk, or someone else's property or public property, is to harm other people and animals with the dog. Therefore, any such owner who leaves their dog unrestrained or poorly restrained should be charged with public endangerment, and if the dog attacks someone, the owner should also be charged with aggravated assault, and if the bite victim ends up having a part of their body detached, the owner of the dog should be charged with mayhem as well. If the bite victim dies, then the owner shall be charged with murder, even if the death comes later on, even much later on, as a result of the dog bite, or as a result of any treatment or medication or any other thing used to treat the dog bite, or if the victim dies as a result of circumstances that result from the dog bite. For example, if the victim of the dog bite becomes disabled because of the dog bite, loses their job due to disability, and then dies of homelessness, then the owner of that dog shall be charged with murder. Another example is if the bite victim becomes addicted to painkillers, and then turns to street drugs to deal with this addiction and dies either because of overdose, or because of homelessness arising from the addiction, then the owner of that dog shall be charged with murder. These are just a couple examples. You get the idea. 2. It should be a minimum 5-year prison sentence for the owner of any dog that bites someone it shouldn't. The maximum sentence for the owner of any such dog that bites someone it shouldn't should be life in prison. People face severe risks from being bitten by a dog, such as disability, nerve damage, infection, broken bones, even death and likely more, from a dog bite, so the sentence the owner gets should be commensurate with the risk others are put in by being bitten by a dog. Every time I ride my bike, and keep in mind that I am car-free, I have to worry about dogs biting me or going to prison because I dared to defend myself based on reality, instead of the lies the dog owner drums up to excuse their own irresponsibility. If that owner had to worry about going to prison for 5 years as soon as even a single tooth from that dog broke my skin, he wouldn't have the gall to lie and say things like, "It's just running at you," or "It's just a sweet wholesome family dog. It'd never run into the road at you as long as you just keep riding," or "Use pepper spray." Pepper spray/gel is not reliable, especially on fighting type dogs, and especially in the wind, and can blow back on the user and incapacitate them. I have to worry about getting infected, especially since I am allergic to most antibiotics, and some antibiotics can cause nasty side effects like heart and joint and tendon problems, and I have to worry about ending up with permanent disability or even death, permanent nerve damage, constant pain, etc. From dogs that I am not allowed to defend myself against based on reality, but instead I must base my actions on the lies of the owner, the prosecutor, and the lies that the jury will use to justify its own irresponsibility with its own dogs. So if I have to base my actions on other people's lies, then they should pay a severe penalty when I get hurt because I based my actions on their lies. This way they become less prone to lying. 3. The owner should have to pay 4 times the total cost of injury, intimidation, fear of using the road or sidewalk, lost wages, lost property, destroyed relationships, divorce after lost job due to dog bite for example, or any other trouble that their dog causes, and this payout should be non-taxable. When I say intimidation or any other trouble, I am talking about people who, for example, are afraid to walk or cycle to work and other places, and who quit their jobs as delivery drivers because of all the dogs they have to deal with. Irresponsible owners cause others massive amounts of trouble, and they should pay for the trouble they cause. It's disgusting that people have to be responsible for someone else's dogs. The dogs should entirely be the responsibility of the owner, and this law would help make that so. Furthermore, the cost of bringing such a lawsuit to court should be free. And the process for filing such a lawsuit should merely be writing a letter explaining the problem, and presenting evidence backing the claims in the letter. 4. We recognize that if the owner caused the problem, they consented to the solution, especially when the problem created by the owner is so pointless and dangerous as an unrestrained dog. In the case of any dog that is unrestrained, or has no capable obstruction between it and someone that does not want it near them, it should be legal for that person to deal with that dog any way they think they need to ensure their own safety or the safety of others, especially in the cases of delivery people, pedestrians, and cyclists. And any such dog should be considered legally harmable and terminable by any method that can provide an effective and reliable defense against that dog. Keep in mind the fact that many dogs will attack with no warning at all or subdued warning or even while looking friendly, and keep in mind the fact that the longer a situation continues the more that can happen. Sometimes not shooting can be more dangerous to yourself and others than shooting. And remember that lethal methods of defense are for situations that can cause grievous harm or death, and non-lethal methods of defense are for situations that cannot cause grievous harm or death. Non-lethal is always unreliable, especially in the wind when using pepper spray, pepper balls, or pepper gel, and can even backfire by incapacitating the user, and by only further enraging the dogs, especially as some types of dogs, notably the blood sport types of dogs, only become further excited and enraged from pain, and I have seen 2 videos now where pepper spray failed to stop pit bulls from attacking. And what I mean by capable obstruction is that the obstruction must be capable. For example, putting a Rottweiler behind a baby gate does not capably obstruct it from mauling the mailman, so a baby gate is not considered a capable obstruction. Furthermore, keep in mind the scenario of a dog on the highway or interstate that actually happens here. In such a situation, someone could slam on their brakes to avoid hitting the dog, which is a defensive action, but this could cause a massive pileup on the highway that could kill someone, yet we do not prosecute the person who slammed on their brakes. So too here, in the case of any defensive action against a dog, or anyone or anything else for that matter, that goes wrong, the effects of the wrong should be charged to the owner of the dog, or whoever caused the events that inspired the defensive action to take place. Both scenarios are essentially the same, with only the tools being different. No one should have to worry about going to prison for having to deal with a situation that was dumped off on them against their will, especially when they only had seconds to figure it all out and do something that would reliably work. The only person who should be responsible for such a situation is the person who created the problem in the first place, in this case, the owner of the dog. The owner should bear full responsibility for all the trouble their dog causes, especially since dogs do attack with little or no warning, or even while looking friendly. This is simply part of the burden of owning dangerous animals, which dogs clearly are, as proven by the hundreds of thousands of emergency room visits we have every year due to dogs biting people, and it is also due to a bit of an issue where if you don't shoot or otherwise harm the dog, something even worse could happen. Keep in mind that you cannot account for everything that can occur during a defensive event, especially as there are, many times, only seconds or less to decide on what to do, and doing nothing could allow things to get even worse very rapidly. The best solution tends to be the quickest and most reliably effective solution, as the longer a situation goes on, the more that can happen. One example is that you didn't shoot the dog and it goes on to maul you or someone else. Another example is that you don't shoot the dog and it causes a traffic incident because it's in the road, or it gets you crushed while you're dealing with it, or a child could run into the road after their dog that ran into the road and is now attacking you, but luckily you shot the dog and it ran back to the child, preventing the child from running into the road and being crushed and a traffic incident from occurring. You get the idea. The longer an incident goes on, the more that can happen. And that is really bad. There are so many variables in a defensive situation that you cannot account for them all. And if you hesitate to shoot or do whatever you need to do, something even worse could happen. Furthermore, we recognize that running from a dog, even on a bicycle, only further endangers the person dealing with the dog. Dogs are fast. Even a dachshund can hit 20 miles per hour, and a blue heeler can hit 45 miles per hour. So the chances of outrunning a dog are slim to none, especially for non-pros. Keep in mind that many times dogs intersect cyclists, and when they do this, no matter their speed, there is no way to outrun them. Furthermore, another dog could run out in the road ahead of you and start charging at you, and falling at high speeds on a bicycle can cause permanent disability or death. It is well known that one should never run from a predatory animal because it only excites the animal's chase instinct and prey drive, and puts any potential victim in even more danger. Therefore, running from a dog or any other animal shall never be required in any defensive situation. Again, keep in mind the fact that many dogs will attack with no warning at all or subdued warning, such as a low, barely audible growl, and keep in mind the fact that some dogs even look friendly while attacking. I have many videos of this on my channel, and keep in mind the fact the owners will lie and say, it's just running at you, even when the dog is clearly charging at the person to attack them. And keep in mind the fact that owners will lie any lie they can get away with to justify being irresponsible with their dog, including lying and saying that it's just a sweet wholesome family dog that don't hurt nothing never ever, etc., when they know very well that they are lying. Basically, dogs are unpredictable and no one should have to wait about to see if the dog is really going to attack them, their children or anyone else. And dog lovers lie to try to cover this fact. 5. The defendant, who defended themselves or someone else or some animal or some property against a dog, must be allowed to say and present anything they wish to, in court or anywhere else, to bolster their viewpoint, their defense, and explain why they took the actions they did. This is especially an issue in cases where currently you cannot base your actions on past experience. You should be able to use your past experience and other people's experience in dealing with dogs, or any other business for that matter. Otherwise, the case against the defendant is entirely based on the lies of the owner, the prosecutor, and the lies that the jury will use to justify its own irresponsibility with its own dogs. If they can create their own narrative, then the defendant should be allowed to create his own narrative as well, using anything he wishes to back his viewpoint. Furthermore, the duty of the government to prove guilt should be absolute. This is to prevent gaming the system by the prosecution. The prosecution and/or court may not game the system to try to flip this into a responsibility of the defense to prove innocence. 6. Shock collars are not a reliable and effective restraint, as dogs can push through the pain and some even become more aggressive and excited by the pain the shock collar causes, notably the fighting types of dogs. And neither is a chain without a fence considered a reliable and effective restraint, as children can still access the dog. 7. Letting a dog jump on someone should be charged as assault to the owner. People are allowed to remove any such offending dog from their presence however they see fit. 8. Allowing a dog to harass people on the sidewalk or road, or on their own property, or on someone else's property, or on public property, or anywhere else that is not owned by the owner of the dog, should be charged as harassment to the owner. 9. The owner of any dog that hurts another animal, whether directly or indirectly, for example, by chasing or scaring a horse into a barbed wire fence, should be charged as a felon and serve a minimum 2-year prison sentence for animal abuse. People do not have a right to hurt other animals with their dog. Real defensive situations are exempted from this if the dog is right in attacking the animal. 10. The owner of any dog that bites any person or animal must be required to turn over the dog for full testing, including testing for rabies. We recognize that vaccines are not 100% effective, that owners are irresponsible and leave their dogs around all sorts of things that have who knows what, and that the bite victim has the right to know every condition, disease, and thing that the dog has that could affect their health. Not turning the dog over for testing should result in a minimum 10-year prison sentence for the owner. 11. Gaslighting a person or animal into thinking a dog is safe to be around when it is not, should also be a felony for the owner. Furthermore, any dog charging at a person or animal shall always be considered aggressive and dangerous, especially if the dog is not familiar with that person or animal. No one should have to stand there and wait to see if they, someone else, or their animal are going to be mauled. We recognize that a person has a right to defend themselves, others, and any animals as they please, with typical weaponry such as blades, firearms, maces, pepper gel and spray, tasers and anything else that is typical, and based on their own experience and circumstances. The owner created the problem, therefore they consent to the solution. For example, a person that is allergic to most antibiotics shouldn't have to take the risk of being bitten at all, especially as some antibiotics can cause serious tendon and heart problems. The owner of any dog that is harmed or terminated in any potential defensive situation at all shall be charged with animal neglect leading to the harm or death of their dog. They never should have had their dog in that situation to begin with, and the owner of the dog should serve no less than 1 year in prison. 12. Cycling, jogging, walking, standing, etc. Or doing any other remotely normal activity on a roadway or sidewalk or any part of a roadway or sidewalk, or on one's own property or on another person's property, should one be allowed on that property or on public property, or any other property a person has a right to access, or any property or place that one mistakenly thought they were okay to access, or any place they can reasonably assert they have a right to access based on reasonability and or safety, shall never be considered looking for trouble or in any way illegal. If one cannot cycle, jog, walk, stand or do other even remotely typical activities on a roadway or sidewalk or any part of a roadway or sidewalk, or their own property or an acquaintance's property or public property, or any other property or place they have a right to access or thought they had a right to access or can reasonably assert they have a right to access, based on reasonability and or safety, without looking for trouble, then it is obvious that someone was looking to cause them trouble. In such cases involving dogs, where the owner of a dog caused someone to be fearful of being considered to be looking for trouble, the dog owner shall be charged with a felony of causing people to be fearful of looking for trouble, and shall be imprisoned for no less than 1 year, and shall pay for any trouble they caused, fourfold over. Basically, if the behavior of a person is even remotely legal or remotely typical or remotely expected, then that behavior shall not be considered looking for trouble, and the dog owner who caused a person to be fearful of being considered to be looking for trouble shall be charged with a felony of causing people to be fearful of looking for trouble, and shall be imprisoned for no less than 1 year, and shall pay for any trouble they caused, fourfold over. This is to prevent the accusation of looking for trouble being used to harass people out of going about and enjoying their lives, or being used to intimidate them into not defending themselves as they think they should. 13. It should be a felony to have a dog near a busy roadway, even while restrained, especially when being walked or otherwise controlled by a child or anyone else that does not have the strength or know how to keep the dog under control. This is because dogs will run into the busy road after me and others, and children cannot control them, and some adults cannot control them. Allowing dogs near busy roads is simply too dangerous, and therefore it should be a felony for the owner or non-child handler of that dog to have the dog near a busy road. In the case of a child handling the dog, the adult owner of the dog or the adult handler of the dog that allowed the child to have control over the dog would be charged with the felony. 14. Children and insufficiently strong people shall not be allowed to walk dogs or be put into a position where they must control any dog, as they cannot actually reliably control them. Any such person doing such a thing, or their parents or caregivers in the relevant cases, must be punished by law to the extent necessary to keep them from repeating their behavior. 15. I am tired of seeing children mutilated and killed by dogs, therefore we must legalize caning and make it to where any parent that allows their dog or any other dog to bite their child shall be caned no less than 3 times in a row. Caning can be distributed over a period of time for health purposes in the case of decrepit people. The caning must cause severe bruising that takes weeks to heal, at minimum. Any parent who allows a dog to kill their child must get life in prison. Anyone that to any degree whatsoever should have expected a dog to be dangerous toward a child that they have responsibility for, before it harmed them, must be imprisoned for no less than 5 years when that dog bites that child. Any sentence prescribed in this section must be piled on top of any relevant sentence from any other section of this set of laws. 16. A dog that goes on someone else's property or public property is considered legally and immediately harmable, and terminable by any remotely sane means, including firearms and poison, by whoever doesn't want them there and has authority over that property, or whoever intends to defend any person or animal or property from that dog. 17. A dog that harasses a horse or any other animal or any person is considered legally terminable by any remotely sane means, including by firearms. Dogs like to run horses into barbed wire. 18. Again, I reiterate that anyone may defend themselves and others, including animals, even preemptively, from any dog by any remotely sane means, including by firearm and by poison. The owner consented to the solution as soon as they caused the problem, especially since everyone else has to bear the risk, harm, and cost of dealing with the owner's dog. 19. Endangering anyone with a dog, especially a particularly dangerous type of dog or a pack of any type of dogs, should result in a felony charge and a minimum 1 year prison sentence for the owner or handler, whichever had more direct responsibility of those dogs. Yes, I have seen a news story where a woman was killed by a pack of small dogs, so a pack of any type of dogs is actually what I mean. 20. If a child is the handler of a dog, and they technically violate any of these laws, then the relevant caregivers shall be charged with whatever the child would be charged with, were the child an adult. If an adult has a caregiver, in the relevant cases, if that relevant adult with a caregiver violates any of these laws, then that caregiver shall be charged with whatever crime that relevant adult technically committed. This shall not apply when the potentially relevant adult is cognitively capable. 21. Using lethal force, even a firearm, to protect any animal or any person from a dog, even preemptively, is legal. 22. It is legal to terminate any dog that is mauling or biting a car or other property, even with a firearm. Yes, pit bulls do maul cars. I have videos of this. 23. If someone's dog mauls, bites or in any way damages a vehicle or other property, including by being hit by a vehicle while in the road or any other place, that owner shall be charged with a felony of damaging other people's property with a dog. 24. Any dog that bites a person, animal, or mauls or bites someone's property, especially in the case of mauling or biting a vehicle, motorized or non-motorized, must be put down. Yes, this is a real issue as pit bulls like mauling cars. I have videos of this. 25. One may do whatever they wish to ensure the safety of others from a dog, especially in regards to the disabled, elderly, and children, so long as the solution they choose is even remotely within the realm of sanity, including using typical, even just somewhat typical, methods of lethal force against a dog, including firearms, blades, maces, and poison, and various non-lethal devices, even preemptively. One must never be required to use non-lethal on a dog due to the serious harm a dog can cause so very rapidly, and due to the infection and disability risk that a dog bite can carry. We also recognize that non-lethal methods of defense are highly unreliable and can even backfire, especially in the wind, and especially as they tend to rely on pain to stop the attack, and many dogs are pain insensitive, or even get more enraged and dangerous when in pain. 26. Any dog that has accessible proximity to a person that it is barking at, or running at, or both, is considered dangerous. We recognize the fact that many dogs will attack with no warning at all, or subdued warning, or even while looking friendly, and we recognize the fact that the longer a situation continues the more that can happen, so shutting down the situation as rapidly as possible is ideal. 27. The owner of any dog that knocks someone, or some animal, down or otherwise causes them harm such that it causes serious harm to a person or animal, shall be charged with aggravated assault, and the owner's sentence shall be commensurate with the situation and the harm caused, and shall have no maximum but life in prison. There is no reason not to pass these laws as they will obviously not affect anyone as doggy don't do nothing never ever ever ever. Duh.
It doesn't, every other dog ever around. If you steer the dog, if you get the dog down, you bring his ears to the ground, and you steer him down, the dog will submit. Yeah, but that's a different breed. The power that comes in and bulldog, pit bull. Yeah, that's the kind of fighting breed. Right. It's like they have an extra boost. No! Exactly, it's an extra. That's why they can go into a zone, but they don't feel the pain anymore. He's using the bulldog in here, which is way too powerful. So we have to make him dog so we can actually create the limits. And we can create submission. Okay. You follow? Because if you're trying to create submission in a fighting breed, it's not going to happen. They'd rather die than surrender. If you really don't want to surrender, I can bomb you. If you add pain, it only infuriates them. Yes, it does. To them, pain is that adrenaline rush. They're looking forward for that. They're